Now it's 9:15.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Live from the New Scientist Labs, Janine Young, newscientist.com.
New Scientist Labs, it is Janine Young. Hello to you, Janine.
Good morning, Wammo.
What's up, sunshine?
I was waiting for that.
What's going on?
We're talking about the sun today.
Yes, we are.
You can see behind me that the sun hasn't quite come up yet. You forget that we're 2 hours behind you. It's still quite dark.
Yeah.
Obviously, the sun is a crucial part of the way I live our lives, and we're very much aware of things like solar flares when they happen. They can mess around with electronic systems and the like. But solar flares are actually kind of important because it gives an indication of what's going on inside the sun. I'd never given the sun any thought, it comes up every day, it provides warmth on a good day when there's no cloud, like there was yesterday, it was freezing. However, in looking at the number of solar flares that are coming out of the sun at the moment, the number of sunspots specifically, turns out there haven't been that many of them in the last couple of years. Sunspots go in roughly an 11-year cycle. It's to do with what's going on inside the sun. It then bubbles up towards the surface, and sunspots are magnetic fields that are able to bubble up and then escape the surface of the sun, and then the flares are released out from there. We know that there are periods of lots of activity, and then there's periods of not so much activity. 2007 they knew was really, really quiet, so they weren't expecting very much in 2008. However, 2009 they were thinking was going to be a truly massive year because the predictions, the solar modelling, had shown that it was meant to come back with a vengeance, except no one told the sun. Turns out that it's been really quiet for the last few years. And while this is really nice and interesting and it's good to know what's going on with the sun, it's probably more important for the Earth's climate, because they're starting to work out now that periods of high solar activity disproportionately warm up Northern Europe. So last winter was horrible for Northern Europe, and it ties in with the fact that there were fewer sunspots and therefore fewer solar flares. So there are some people that are trying to work out how much solar activity influences climate, because there are some that will say it's got nothing to do with carbon dioxide, it's all to do with the sun, calm down, everything is fine. This is actually a natural experiment that we're being able to work out what's going on with climate and solar activity.
Now, the people who subscribe to the 2012 kind of Armageddon catastrophe sort of theories also say that we're going to be expecting more solar flare activity over the next 2 years leading up to 2012, and that could potentially disrupt power grids and that kind of thing, communications, satellites. I don't know.
Well, solar flares are really bad for that kind of thing because they're massive ejections of energy, and that does have the effect of messing around with systems on Earth. Looking at the evidence that's coming out from the sun at the moment, it appears that there's actually not as much activity as there has been in the past. And sure, there is this 11-year cycle, so they're thinking, okay, fine, we know that obviously things are going to slow down a bit. But as I said, it was meant to start arcing up again by now. But it suggests there's stuff going on inside the centre of the sun, which is where this magnetic activity begins, that suggests that things might be cooling down in the centre of the sun. And there was a period, I think it was 1645 to 15 previously, known as the Maunder Minimum, where there were no sunspots. There was no solar activity like that for a really long time. And there are some people suggesting that this could actually be happening again. They're putting it at roughly an 8% chance at the moment. So is it going to happen again? No one knows, and that's part of the problem. However, this 2012 scenario, shocking film, by the way, only saw it recently.
I haven't seen it.
Stinky. Don't waste your time. It's 2 hours of your life you'll never get back.
Yeah.
The 2012 scenario, if the sun isn't going to start producing sunspots, there will be no flares, which means that 2012 should be a relatively uneventful, if rather cold, year. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right, that sums that up. Well, I'm not sure if we can make a segue between the sun and snakes, other than the fact that snakes, of course, love basking in the sun. It gets them moving and whatnot. But the snake populations have been plummeting, Janine.
This is actually quite disturbing. There's a couple of researchers that have been looking at previous studies. They are not saying this is a global trend. It's really important to emphasise that. They are, however, flagging that in Nigeria, the UK, France, Italy and Australia, Of the 17 species they looked at, 11 of them have declined. Now, that's quite serious, and there have been some very steep declines in places like France and Nigeria, and they don't know why. They think it may have something to do with loss of habitat, appropriate ground cover and the like, because snakes, they like to be out in the sun to warm up. They tend to be fairly solitary creatures that don't like being out in the open. They don't like being exposed, unless that's part of their hunting strategy. Some desert creatures bury themselves in the sand and wait for anything that comes past. However, it's a bit concerning that you do have these species that are declining, and they're going the same way as species such as frogs. And they're important predators. They're part of ecosystems. So as soon as you lose something like a snake, that has impacts for the rest of various ecosystems.
I can't say that I'm overly worried that the snake population is plummeting around the world. Not that we have snakes here in New Zealand, but I can't say I'm a fan.
I must admit, being Australian, I know all about red bellies, and I know about all the nasty things, the brown snakes that hide in people's backyards and the like. I've never really encountered them, so maybe it's just being unafraid of what I don't know. I'm not afraid of them either. Spiders, on the other hand, no, that's a completely different story. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
However, let's think about the overall ecosystem.
Yeah. That's awfully mean of me, isn't it?
Places.
It's terribly mean of me to say, I don't like your breed much. Away with you. It's not the right attitude at all.
You won't be the first, and
Yeah.
you won't be the last. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Janine Young from New Scientist Magazine, thanks so much. We will catch you same time next week, and those stories in New Scientist Magazine as well. Here's a track from George and Queen. This here is called I Don't Want to Give It Up. It's Kiwi.